barrage of threes to take down the Lakers in Game 1. It's Playoff Central Live, presented by State Farm. Great to have you along with us. The Hall of Famers, Vince Carter, Isaiah Thomas. I'm Matt Weiner. Good to see you out there. It would be maybe too simplistic to say that Minnesota just shot the Lakers out of the building with the 21 made threes on 42 attempts, because their defense held the Lakers to sub 40% shooting as well. But it was really the offense as much as anything that carried the day for the Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, that three-point shooting was, off the charts. The way they moved the basketball, the way they got into the lane, and the way they distributed and played very unselfishly. The other thing that I liked that they were doing on the defensive side of the ball, they were helping, they're recovering, their length, getting in the shot pockets in terms of the guy was trying to shoot the basketball, they was up. And I just thought, there was a well-played basketball game by the Timberwolves, and they played good basketball tonight.
And you talk about the 42 three-point attempts, but I'm looking, they had 10 free throw attempts. And as you move into the series and those three-point attempts don't fall, you need to be aggressive and get fouled. And I think that's the one thing we want from Anthony Edwards, and I for sure want, because that's why I think we grew to love him, because of his aggressiveness and ability to get into the paint. Obviously, super athletic, and obviously he's shooting a three-point shot at a high clip.
Yeah.
And taking
maybe
a lot
more
of
than
them
anybody in the NBA.
In the NBA, but I still would like to see him get downhill, get into the paint, and he gets their team into the penalty with his aggressiveness. And the three-point shot will always be there, but like if he's aggressive getting to the paint, like it'll make the game easier for him as well. Would you agree?
Yeah. And tonight, it was easy for them.
Yeah.
He got downhill a couple of times, but I just thought overall their offense was crisp. Daniels was 11 for 13, and he played well. Conley played well,
yes,
always handling the game. I just thought that, Minnesota, for a Game 1 to go into Los Angeles, picked as, a loser, right? And Luka and LeBron being as good as they are, they came in and let them know that this is going to be a long series and possibly a series where they could upset the Lakers.
It's easy to get sucked in by the glitz of the Lakers, and particularly this year with the Luka Doncic story. And I get it. We're guilty of it as much as anybody. But the Timberwolves were 17-4 over their last 21 games. I mean, this has been a really good team over the last couple of seasons, and a really good team over the last month or so of this NBA season. They're up 1-0. Here's their head coach, Chris Finch.
Chris, just what do you think overall of being able to weather a few storms that you had to do and kind of take control as the game went along?
Yeah, I thought, after the opening few minutes, I think we were just a little sluggish. I think excited. I saw some guys kind of go through their first tank of gas pretty quick. But once we settled into, the game plan and offensively, picked up our pace and our decision-making and, the concepts that we had been focusing on, like, things started to come together. Of course, our bench was huge, outstanding job by those guys really coming in and giving us a jolt at the right time.
And just what can you say about Jaden and the way that he came through for you?
Yeah, huge. I mean, just his hustle plays early on. His first shot went in. His hustle plays early on just kind of kept us hanging around until we could find some rhythm and make a run. It was outstanding at both ends of the floor, and we need that type of effort from. And we've seen that through the middle part of the season when he's really kind of taken a massive step, and we saw it last year in the playoffs too. So couldn't have been at a better time for us.
Naz's impact is well known by now, but what did you think of his performance tonight on this type of stage? Yeah,
just again, I thought came in aggressive off the bench. He got us some easy buckets when we couldn't find anything else. Just his activity. He's such a quick decision maker for us. Got to the hoop. Shot the ball well. We did a good job of finding him. He did a really good job of moving and staying active. And then I thought, everybody battled defensively. So.
Of course, back to Jaden. He's been a two-way guy for a while now, but what do you think he's done to take it into an even bigger level this season?
Yeah, he's not just relying on a shot going down. He's taking the ball off the dribble. He's making his shots in the paint. His activity on the offensive glass. He's, smart, and I think as a screener, he knows what he's trying to do there, depending on matchups. But largely, it's just he used to live and die with his shot a lot, and even though he's shooting the ball much better, it's just part of his game now, rather than the thing that determines whether he has a good offensive night or not.
Ant played a lot differently in the second half than he did in the first half. Did you say anything to him at halftime, or show him some film, or what was it, do you think?
He was really vocal at halftime. He knew, he knew what was going on by that time. I think he had gotten comfortable with it. I think some of the stuff that we saw early, we weren't quite expecting some of it with him. But I think he just was surveying in the first half a lot, and I think he let that slow him down. And I think he was more aggressive, and he had that look in his eyes like he gets, and he was really good. So.
Going off that, can you talk more about how Ant has been able to grow as a player and get his teammates more involved in the game?
I always say the best version of Ant is one that's like flirting with a triple-double, and tonight he had 9 assists, 8 rebounds, and thought made some timely shots like he always does. Got his teammates involved, I thought, with even more timely passing. Some of those were when they were making a little bit of run, or just when they were starting to kind of commit 2 or 3 to him. He's just gotten way more comfortable with it. He knows like kind of what he wants to do before he starts, or has a better idea of that. So, all credit to him, and Pablo and Chris Hines and those guys have worked tirelessly around that, and he's gotten he's seen it all this season. So it's just a matter of figuring out, okay, what his counter is going to be.
When you say Ant was vocal at halftime, was he vocal with himself, vocal with the team?
He's vocal with the team. He was just, he's kind of directing his team, where he would like them in the spots that he needed them, depending on what was going on out there. So.
Sorry. It's no secret that a lot of people picked the Lakers to win this series. What does it mean to have this type of a dominant win on the Lakers' home court in Game 1?
I mean, it's Game 1. We know it's going to be a long series. Like, we're not. We're not under any assumption that it's going to be this type of game on Game 2. It'll be a completely different game. So, as it is with all these games in the series, and then staying on even keel, that's the most important thing. We got left a lot of meat on the bone out there. A lot of things I know we can do better.
So many teams kind of hunt corner threes for good reason, but was one of the things when Ant talk about Ant wanting guys in certain spots, was that more that above the break spot that just seemed to be for you guys?
You mean for
on
Anthony?
The kick out when Ant got into the paint? It just seemed like that was that spot right there above the break every time.
Yeah, I think he's done a good job of just we did a good job of moving and filling space continuously. They're such a great defense. They really sell out to stop what you want to do first and foremost. So you just got to stay moving and find new space, and our guys were able to do that. So.
Just kind of along those lines, I mean, just in general with them kind of packing the paint,
Yeah.
It seemed like it took you guys that first maybe 6 minutes to figure out, but what did you figure out about getting to the middle and spraying it?
Pace of play. It was just, like whether it was getting the ball up a little quicker, playing with a little bit more fluidity in the start of the offense, or just, obviously picking up our decision making. Just needed to be. It was just way too stagnant in the first shift, and I thought our off-ball movement was very good. And that was, important. So.
How did you see the team just handle the physicality of the game and the officiating? You guys didn't get a lot of fouls out there. How did you see the team just deal with that?
Yeah, I thought we did a pretty good job. So.
Rudy had a lot of difficulty getting engaged in the first half on offense, especially. Why was it changed so much in the second half? Was it because of what you did, or because of what the way they schemed it, or what?
You talking about with Rudy in particular?
Rudy in the second half seemed to be a little bit more engaged in the offense. He was kind of almost a bystander to some extent in the first half.
Yeah, they were heavy switching him, and I think he, instead of continually putting himself in the action and being active, he was kind of, I think, trying to set up shop, and we didn't do a good job of finding some of those mismatches when they were there. And I think he just, he was calling for it probably a little bit too long, and then, in the second half, he just did a better job of staying in the flow of the game. So.
Chris, you mentioned the bench being really, really valuable for you in this one. Has that just become over the course of the season like a familiar button that you can push, and Dante and Nas come in and it changes like that?
Yeah, yeah, of course. We've talked about it in our locker room. We've talked about it in the media. I'm blessed. I really believe we have 8 starter caliber players. When we go to our bench, they've often given us this lift. Wanted to try to stagger them in a little bit tonight. I'm not sure. I think I got Dante in maybe a minute before I got Nas, but just to be able to kind of so they can come in super aggressive but spoiled for choice there. So.
Hey, Coach, I want to ask you about, Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Yeah.
He does a lot of things that aren't even on the stat sheet, and then also Jaden, too, as well, on the offensive glass. 9 of 11, only missed 2 shots. I just really like the way those two played.
Yeah, it's, you need those types of performances. I thought Dante was great, too. He had a lot of just kind of gritty plays. the backdoor cut was huge, and the finish at the right time. I thought he battled his tail off defensively, got switched on to both LeBron or Luka. And Nickeil was the same. Those guys they give you everything they got. They are glue guys. They can make shots. They can have big nights. They create flow and rhythm for their teammates. And then they guard, and they like to guard. And, they're